Welcome everyone again. So my name is Jeremy Capone. I'm the wellness chef for the Cancer Rehabilitation and Survivorship Program at the Princess Margaret Cancer Center, but I'm also the Community Connections Program Coordinator, and we are really excited to be relaunching Community Connections. And so for those that are new to Community Connections, it is essentially an opportunity for us to highlight some of our incredible community partners and to showcase some of the resources that they offer. So we're going to be starting on the third Thursday of every month at 11 o'clock, so an hour before our cooking demonstration, to showcase presentations from some of our partners. We might even have some different activities like yoga or stretching, or some breathing exercises for you as well. So we have lots of fun activities and events planned. And there's an agenda here as well on the side you can see. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to be launching this again. This is something that we did offer at the Elixir Center space in person before the pandemic, but since we have stopped. So this is going to be virtual going forward from this point. And we just welcome you. And if you have any questions throughout the different various presentations, you can absolutely include them in the chat. I'll be popping in here and there, and then our regular scheduled cooking demonstration will start shortly after 12 o'clock. So it's gonna be a little bit later today at around 12:30. But we have a lot of fun events planned before then. So we're going to start things off. We're going to kick things off with an incredibly relaxing mindfulness body scan exercise by one of the amazing occupational therapists, Lydia Beck. She's part of the Cancer Rehabilitation and Survivorship Program here at Princess Margaret, and she's going to lead us through a mindfulness exercise. So enjoy. And stay tuned.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia. I'm an occupational therapist with the Cancer Rehab Program, and I'm going to lead you through a mindfulness exercise called a body scan. We'll begin by making ourselves comfortable. You can sit on a chair and allow your back to be straight, but not too stiff, with your feet on the ground. You can also do this practice standing, or if you prefer, you can lie down with your head supported. Your hands can be resting gently on your lap or at your side. Allow your eyes to close, or you can leave them open with a soft gaze. Take several long, slow, deep breaths. Breathe in fully and exhale slowly. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose or your mouth. As you inhale, feel your stomach expand. And as you exhale, feel it relax and let go. Begin to let go of noises around you, and shift your attention from outside to inside yourself. If you're distracted by any sounds in the room, simply notice this and bring your focus back to your breathing. Now slowly bring your attention down to your feet. Begin observing the sensations in your feet. You might wiggle your toes a little, feeling them up against your shoes or your socks. And just notice without judgment. You might imagine sending your breath during this mindful body scan down to your feet, as if the breath is traveling through your nose, to your lungs, through your abdomen, and all the way down to your feet. And then back up again, out through your nose and lungs. Maybe you don't feel anything at all, and that's fine too. Just allow yourself to feel the sensation of not feeling anything. When you're ready, allow your feet to dissolve in your mind's eye and move your attention to your ankles, calves, knees, and thighs. Observe the sensations you're experiencing throughout your legs. Breathe into and out of your legs. If your mind begins to wander during this exercise, simply notice this without judgment and bring your mind back to whatever body part we're focused on, which right now is your legs. If you notice any discomfort, pain, or stiffness, try not to judge this. Just simply notice it. You may observe how all sensations rise and fall, shift and change moment to moment. Notice how no sensation is permanent. Just observe and allow the sensations to be in the moment as you progress through this mindful body scan, just as they are. Breathe into and out from the legs. And on your next out breath, allow the legs to dissolve in your mind and move the sensations to your lower back and pelvis, softening and releasing as you breathe in and out. Slowly move your attention up to your mid-back and upper back and become curious about the sensations there. You may become aware of sensations in the muscles, temperature, or points of contact with the furniture or the floor. With each out breath, you may let go of the tension that you're carrying, and then very gently shift your focus to your stomach and all of the internal organs there. Perhaps you notice the feeling of clothing, the process of digestion, or the belly rising and falling with each breath. If you notice any opinions arising about these areas, gently let these go and return to notice sensations. As you continue to breathe, bring your awareness to the chest and heart region and just notice your heartbeat. Observe how the chest rises during an inhale and how the chest falls during an exhale. Let go of any judgments that may arise. On the next out breath of this body scan, shift the focus to your hands and fingertips. See if you can channel your breathing during this into and out of this area, as if you're breathing into and out of your hands. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the sensations in your hands. And then on the next out breath, shift the focus and bring your awareness up into your arms. Observe the sensations or lack of sensations that may be occurring there. You might notice some difference between the left arm and the right arm. No need to judge this. As you exhale, you may experience the arms soften and tensions releasing. Continue to breathe and shift focus to the neck, shoulders, and throat region. This is an area where many of us have tension, so just observe the sensations here. Maybe you're noticing tightness, rigidity. Maybe you're noticing the shoulders moving along with the breath. Let go of any thoughts or stories that you're telling about this area. As you breathe deeply through the mindful body scan, you may feel the tension rolling off your shoulders. On the next out breath, shift your focus and direct your attention to the scalp, head, and face. Observe all of the sensations occurring there. Notice the movement of the air as you breathe into or out of the nostrils or the mouth. As you exhale, you might notice the softening of any tension you're holding. And now, let your attention expand out with this mindful body scan to include the entire body as a whole. Bring your awareness to the top of your head, down to the bottom of your toes, and feel the gentle rhythm of the breath as it moves through the body. And as you come to the end of this practice, take a full deep breath, taking in all your energy of this practice. Exhale fully, and when you're ready, open your eyes and return your attention to the present moment. As you become fully alert and awake, take a moment to reflect on how your body and mind feel.
Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed that session, that mindfulness body scan by Lydia. Thank you so much, Lydia. I feel very relaxed, so really appreciate that. Hopefully everyone else enjoyed that as well. And again, thank you for joining us. If you just tuned in, we are in the middle of our Community Connections event, and we kick things off with a body scan exercise by our OT, Lydia. And now we're going to move on to a presentation by Alyssa Gallant, who is a child life specialist at the Nanny Angel Network, which is an amazing organization. They've been a partner of ours for a while, and we would love to highlight a lot of the resources and services that they offer. So without further ado, we're going to throw it over to Alyssa. Thank you so much. And again, if you do have questions, you can absolutely ask them in the chat.
Everyone, my name is Alyssa, and I'm a child life specialist with Nanny Angel Network, and I'm really excited to be here today to share with you a little bit about our organization and how we support families living with cancer. Our vision is a world where every mother with cancer receives the support that she needs, and every child receives what they need to navigate their mom's cancer journey. Truly, our mission at the Nanny Angel Network is to lessen the impact of cancer on our families. And we do this with lots of different programs and supports. Our flagship program is our in-home childcare. So we provide child life informed, free, specialized in-home childcare for children whose parents have cancer, are in palliative care, or have died. And we do that through a network of trained and vetted volunteers who provide this crucial support to our families so that moms can access treatment. They can go to their medical appointments. They can get rest and respite so that they can become the moms they want to be again. The next slide is a video. It is done by one of our families, and her volunteer, mom is Andrea, and her volunteer is Delaney. And I thought it would be the best way to show you the impact of our organization on our families. So I'll play that next.
My Sophia, she's 8 years old. She is a very talented little artist. She's just very clever, very resourceful. She's going to be a spectacular negotiator one day. Olivia, she's 6 years old. She is this huge lover of the world. She just wants to hug and kiss and cuddle everyone and just heal the world with love. I would say my life was pretty awesome. I had a job that I loved. I've been a paramedic for almost 20 years. had the marriage, I had the kids, I had the house, everything has been fantastic. Then COVID came and cancer, and they kind of came at the same time, and yeah, it wasn't as much fun. Sophia really struggled with a lot of anger. She was angry that her mommy had cancer. The hardest part was trying to deal with symptoms from treatment and look after my kids at the same time. I heard about the Nanny Angel Network through a girlfriend. It just seemed so incredibly organized and well put together and efficient.
When I first met Andrea on Zoom, I knew right then and there that we were going to be friends.
The girls immediately loved her. I loved her. I got to find out more about her, and I was just wowed and awed by her. I want to be her when I grow up.
I'm in school for psychology. I hope to have a career in children's mental health, which is kind of what brought me here. I want to work with kids and help kids who are struggling through trauma. A purpose I have coming is trying to teach the girls how to articulate their emotions, because when they're able to speak about their emotions, it's less overwhelming. So when I first met the girls, it was all love. But I did notice that Sophia was a little bit more hesitant with me, so I knew that I kind of have to put a little bit more love and attention into building that trust, because Olivia was we were best friends from the second I walked in the door.
She's been so supportive and so incredible, and just such an absolute light and star in our world.
It's not only in the power of helping others, but also the personal growth that comes from it, not only learning about how to help others, but learning about yourself. I think every person in the world should have the opportunity to be a nanny angel.
The biggest thing that I would say that sold me on it was just how compassionate and amazing and caring that these volunteers are. They want to help. They want to do this. They're doing this out of their own free time. They're here because there is some purpose that's driving them to do an amazing thing for another human being. There is no greater gift than being able to trust your child with someone who you know cares about them.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I know it always really touches my heart to see the relationship that's formed between our volunteers and our families. It's really, really incredible and powerful. Now I'll share a bit more about our program. So we talked a lot about our flagship program, the Nanny Angel Network Program for Children, which is our in-home program. But I want to tell you a little bit more about our support programs. So when COVID hit, like many other organizations, we really needed to pivot. We needed to ask our families what they needed. How could we support them through this time if we weren't able to provide that in-home support? So we created a few different things. One of them was our homework club. So families told us that it was so challenging for them to not only be moms with cancer, but to now take on the role as a teacher. So our families told us support with homework would be so great. So we were able to provide a virtual program where we match our families with a vetted homework angel who will provide homework support to the kids to make sure that education, it was still happening, that kids were still getting what they needed in order to pursue their educational goals. So our volunteers are there to help with problem solving, support kids with reading, writing, science, math. And that also gave our moms some time to kind of just rest and recover from their treatments. In the summer of 2020, all camps closed down. So we thought, how are we going to support our kids throughout the summer? So we developed a Camp in a Box program, and we were able to send activities to our kids like arts and crafts, science experiments, STEM projects. We'd send 8 a month in one box, and then the volunteers would meet with them to complete those activities virtually with them. And that really gave a lot of normalcy and routine and excitement to our children. I'm pleased to announce that our Fun in the Box and Homework Club are so successful that even though we're able to be back in homes now, we have been for the last while, we are able to offer our virtual Fun in the Box Homework Club for families too. Another thing that our families told us that they could really benefit from was a meal program. So when COVID hit, it was really scary, and it was especially scary for our families who are immunocompromised, and we're really worried about going to the grocery store. So we were able to partner with catering companies to provide a meal program, a free meal program for our moms during the most difficult or challenging parts of their treatment. And I'm happy to say that's also a permanent program with us now. The Mom Support Group is another virtual opportunity where moms in our network get to connect with other moms via Zoom. They get to share some of their challenges, ask questions, get support, seek that connection that they need with people who are going through something really similar. And newly, we will have our youth support group, which will begin this month in November. And we're going to be able to support youth because we know that youth connect best with other youth. So we're going to give them the virtual platform where they have a safe space to share what's going on for them, to connect with other kids who are going through something similar, and to get some information, some coping skills, but also have some fun and excitement in their days. A big part of my role, as I said earlier, is that I am a child life specialist with Nanny Angel Network. And if you are wondering what child life is, you're not alone. I get that question a lot. So I'm happy to be able to share a little bit about such a great career, which is child life. And really, we're a branch of psychosocial healthcare that uses evidence-based practices to support children through and families through life challenges. And we do that in a variety of different ways. But I'll tell you, it is all play-based. So we provide some of our families with education. So if you can imagine being a mom or a dad with cancer and not really sure how to have that conversation with your kids, we're here to be able to support families with giving them the resources and materials to be able to do so. We can prepare our kids for things, for the unexpected. Therapeutic play is a big part. So everything we do when we're teaching kids about cancer in our families, it's all through play. Unfortunately, sometimes we do have moms or dads who die, and that is even more challenging for our families to learn how to navigate that and how to explain death and dying to their children. So we're here to offer those resources, tips, and in some cases to go into the community, to go into our family homes to have these conversations alongside the parent or the family. And then a big part of our program is coping skills. So our nanny angels are trained on how to provide those crucial coping skills for kids to teach them how to be able to navigate life's challenges. And we're going to talk a lot through this presentation about coping skills and strategies and different coping activities that you can use in your own life with the own young people that you have to be able to support them through any life challenges. But first, what we need to talk about before we can talk about how do we help kids cope, we need to understand grief. And grief really is the loss of something. So that can be the loss of a parent. It could be divorce, the loss of normalcy, which is something we've all dealt with over the last 2 years with COVID, especially our young people, where it turned their lives upside down. Schools closed, camps closed, all their fun activities and excitement closed. And grief can also be the loss of a healthy parent and trying to navigate that journey. And grief really is the natural reaction to that loss. So grief can affect our body, our mind, our emotions, and our spirit. And there are many types of grief that people and children can kind of go through. So there's traumatic grief, ambiguous, disenfranchised, and complicated grief. And what we really want to do is give kids the tools to be able to navigate their grief, to understand their grief. And I'm going to share a bit more about that as we go on. So I want to share a bit of tips for supporting grieving children and when a child is dealing with the loss of a healthy parent due to their cancer diagnosis, what do they need in order to feel supported? And the first thing we always share with our families is information. So kids are really good at picking up grown-up conversations. They're really intuitive. So even if we don't give kids the language, if we don't say, Mom has cancer and this is what cancer is and this is how it will impact you, then kids will hear those conversations, they hear about cancer at school, then they hear about it at home, and they are really confused. And because kids are such magical thinkers, sometimes they can have incorrect information. So if we're not providing kids with the right tools to be able to navigate cancer, then it can leave them feeling really confused, really overwhelmed, and can really be so challenging for them. So we really recommend to our families that they do share their cancer journey with their kids. They include them in that conversation. We also talk a lot about consistency of care, so providing kids with the routine and structure that they need. And then, of course, coping strategies, which is another really important step that we're going to get into more detail. So talking to kids about cancer and grief, parents always ask me, where do I start? They feel overwhelmed. They're still trying to understand cancer themselves, and now they need to be able to include their child in that journey and explain it to them. So there are lots of resources and books that are out there to support families in these conversations. But the first thing we recommend is for families to sit down with their partner or their friend and think about how this conversation might go with their kids. Think about the questions that might come up. And really just start that conversation. So in a safe space where everyone feels safe, have a partner there with you, someone that your kids can lean on if you become emotional, and just start that conversation. Use words like cancer and grief and treatment, whatever your treatment may be. Be as honest as possible. Kids can understand complex information if it is provided to them in a developmentally or age-appropriate way. So you can use words like cancer and kids can understand. You just need to make sure you're using that simple and clear language. And then truly listen. When you have this conversation, kids might have questions, they might have emotions and reactions. So be there to validate those and to listen to those questions and answer them when you can. And if you can't, if you don't know the answer, that's okay too. Let them know that you don't know the answer, but that you'll be able to get it to them. So we'll talk about the 4 C's because these are kind of the most common worries that we have from our children when they have a parent with cancer. The first C is, can I catch it? So kids often wonder if they can catch cancer. And we know that's not true, but because kids are still developing and learning, they can't always understand the difference between a cold, a flu, COVID, and cancer. So a lot of illnesses that kids catch, most commonly at school or daycare, is an illness that can be spread to people. But we know cancer doesn't work that way. So explain to your kids that they can't catch cancer, that they can still hug and touch and cuddle with the person that they love without risking themselves. Another question that we get often is, did I cause it? So because we talked a bit about that magical thinking that our kids have, sometimes they wonder if they've caused mom's cancer. It's not uncommon for me to hear kids say, well, mom yelled at me because I didn't clean my room. I should have cleaned my room. A week later, mom went to the hospital and then she came back with throat cancer. And she must have throat cancer because she yelled at me because I didn't do what I was told. But we know that's not true. So letting kids know that there's nothing they did or said that caused mom's cancer is really reassuring for them and helps them understand that it's not their fault. Can I cure it? So kids wonder if I do all my homework, I do all my chores, if I'm on my best behavior, then maybe mom will get better. And often they wonder that because they sometimes think they've caused the cancer. But we know that kids can't cure it. So explain that to them, that there are lots of doctors and scientists and nurses out there who are doing their very best to help mom, to give her the medicine that her body needs. And their job is to be kids. But there are ways that they can help mom, because really when kids are asking this, they're asking, what can I do to support mom throughout this time? Mom's always there for me. How can I be there for her? And they can do a lot of really simple engaging tasks. So they can write mom a letter or draw her a picture. They can help maybe with the chores. All those things can help mom throughout this time. And another question they ask is, who will take care of me? So kids are really egocentric. They're really worried about themselves. Of course, who's going to take care of them? They wonder who's going to drive me to school, who's going to take me to soccer practice. So it's important that you let kids know that there are so many people who love them and are there for them and will be there to take care of them. And that we hope mom will be around for a very long time to be able to do that. And that's why she's getting the treatment that she needs. But there are lots of people to be able to support the kids throughout this time. And name those people, let them know who they can go to and who they can lean on when they need it. Great, so those were the 4 C's, and now we'll talk a little bit about the second tip for supporting grief in children, which is consistency of care. So we know that children thrive on consistency and routine. It makes them feel safe and secure in the world and in their place. If we don't provide that consistent care, then it can create worry and excessive stress, which can cause behavior challenges, can cause confusion for our kids. And you can see that through their play, through academics, through how they're really coping with everything that's going on. But parents always ask, I'm in and out of the hospital. I don't know how I can provide that consistency and routine right now. And that's what's so great about our organization, is that we pair our families with a volunteer who's going to provide that consistent care. So it's the same volunteer that's going to follow our family throughout their cancer journey. And that's providing that consistency of care, because kids are going to rely on that volunteer to come each week to play games, to give them the opportunity to play and to be kids. And then simple things like letting kids know who's going to pick them up from school, who's going to take them to school, ensuring that they have that routine, because it's really what's going to make them feel most safe and most secure. And the last one that I wanted to talk about, the final tip for supporting grieving children, is coping strategies. So coping strategies are really tools that help children gain control of those big emotions and feelings, and they help the mind and body feel better. So we know that worries won't just disappear. When a child has a parent with cancer, they're going to worry about that. They're going to worry about the 4 C's. So we need to continuously reinforce that we're here for them, and that we're here to support them. And how we can do that is teaching them different coping strategies. The goal really isn't to take away those feelings. It's okay to feel angry and sad. It's okay to feel like this isn't fair. But we want to teach them how to cope with those feelings so that they can be successful, so they can have strategies to grow into healthy adults throughout life's challenges. So we have different ways that we can support these kids with different categories. So some kids really like movement. Some kids need distraction, relaxation, processing, and sensory. You may have a kid who has some anger, and that's shown at school through friends. Maybe it's shown at the home with siblings not being able to share toys. There's lots of anger. And maybe in that moment when a kid is feeling really overwhelmed by feeling very mad or angry, they need movement. So maybe they need to go outside, they need to run off that energy, they need to do activities that are going to be able to release all of that energy. And maybe that same kid, a week later is feeling really sad. They found out that mom has to have surgery, and now they're really worried about that. And in this moment, maybe they don't need to go burn off that energy, because now they're feeling sad. So now they need some time to maybe write a letter or journal or talk to a friend. So there are many different ways that kids can process their feelings. And really, when it comes to coping strategies, we aren't sure what's going to work for each child. That's why when you're introducing coping strategies for the first time, it's great to be able to show them multiple different ones, give them different tools or modalities to be able to cope, so they can find what works best for them in the moment. Coping activities. So this is actually how we teach those skills. So we know that kids learn best through play. So all of our coping activities are play-based, they encourage conversation, and they meet a child's developmental need, because we know they learn through play. We know play is where children feel most comfortable. So we're going to meet children where they're at. All of our volunteers have the opportunity to attend a coping kit workshop where they learn a bit more about our coping activities. So all of our volunteers once a month are able to order a coping kit that's designed by our Child Life team, and they bring that into the family home to teach kids these really valuable skills. And I want to share with you a few of the coping activities that we use with the Nanny Angel Network and our volunteers use in the homes and communities. So I will show you a video about my very favorite one, which is called Worry Eaters. So this is a video that we show to our volunteers to teach them a little bit about the coping kit of the month and kind of how they can use it and utilize it with the young people that they support.
Hi everyone, I am Alyssa and I am a Child Life Specialist with Nanny Angel Network. Today I'm here to introduce our coping kit of the month, Worry Eaters, much like the one I designed. Everyone has worries, some big and some small. But sometimes a worry is so upsetting that it interrupts a child's ability to cope. When this happens, it can impact their ability to participate in normal activities and can interrupt their normal development pattern if not managed appropriately. Worry eaters are friendly monsters that help children express their fears. It can initiate constructive conversation and problem-solving skills with a trusted adult. Children can design their own worry monster, they can feed their worries to their monster, and then have that discussion with you as a volunteer. If you've attended our Nanny Angel workshop for coping kits, then you are eligible to order your Worry Eater in our store today. So now I'm going to show you what will be included in your coping kit in order to make the Worry Eater. So you will receive step-by-step instructions on what to do, and it also will show you how to use the Worry Eater. Included will be some different options to design the body, the mouth, the hands, and we also include some fun googly eyes, pom-poms, and pipe cleaners, and a plastic bag. And your children can be as creative as they want in designing their own monsters. I also recommend that when you open up his mouth, you'd cut a little hole. And that is so that when the children write down their worries, they can just insert that right into the mouth of the monster.
Great. So I hope you liked that little video. I do have a couple more coping activities to share with you, but I love the Worry Eaters because it is play-based, so it gives kids a chance to talk about their worries, but also in a way that they understand they can make sense of things. So another coping kit that we do is our kindness bingo. So we know that when we do random acts of kindness, or we do something to someone to make them feel good, that we also release those own natural hormones in ourselves, and we feel happy, or calm, or confident. We can feel optimistic and loved. We know that kindness is contagious. So if you just witness an act of kindness, you can produce the same effects as actually doing it. So one way that I like to explain that is if you've ever had the experience of being like in the Tim Hortons drive-thru and the person in front of you pays for your coffee. I had that experience, and then once I went up, I paid for the person's coffee behind me. So you know, I really felt so appreciated in that moment, and then I wanted someone else to feel the same way. So we can teach these skills to our kids too. We know that kindness can decrease our own stress, our anxiety, our pain, and feelings of depression. So this is a little kindness bingo where kids can use this throughout the week to do random acts of kindness. So maybe they'll help a family member with a chore, or they'll make and give out kindness rocks. I know those were really big during COVID. I used to go on walks and see them all around our communities. It's just a way for people to feel connected and to feel good. You can give yourself a compliment. Kindness can really start within. You can help clean up. You can list 3 kind things others have done for you. So it's a really great tool to teach kids that kindness matters and that it can actually help us feel better too and reduce our anxiety and our stress. And then slime, it's another one of my favorite coping kit activities. And often when I'm explaining to parents that it is a really good way for kids to cope, they wonder how. You know, sometimes they see slime as something really fun, but really messy. But slime has a lot of benefits. So it's a really tactile experience when you're moving the slime in your hands. It can be really relaxing. It can be a great distracting for kids who are experiencing big emotions. And it can really be stress relieving. So it is an appropriate emotional outlet. If the child that you support is feeling really angry, then maybe you can do slime with them. So you can do red slime for anger, maybe green slime for happiness, or blue slime for sadness. They can take that slime when they're feeling angry, that red slime, they can squeeze it, and that kind of helps get out that frustration. And like I said, you can choose different colors to represent emotion. So maybe they have that red anger slime, but then there's a day that they just feel like they need that distraction, like they're feeling very overwhelmed. So they're just going to take the slime to play with it to kind of ease their mind a little bit. So these are just some of the coping activities that we design at Nanny Angel Network, but there are many ways that kids can learn how to cope throughout their grief and throughout those big emotions and feelings. And really, as a parent or a teacher or a friend or someone who supports a young person, it really is our job to be able to give kids the opportunity to learn how to use coping skills and to learn how to navigate those big emotions and feelings. And I wanted to leave you guys with some resources. So if you are supporting anyone, or you do need to have a conversation with the own young people in your life about cancer, these are some books that I recommend that I use very often. So Kids Book About Cancer is really incredible. It teaches kids really in a way that they can understand what cancer is. It starts by explaining cells a little bit. It covers the 4 C's, and it talks about kind of what that cancer journey may look like. The invisible string is a really nice one, especially if you have a parent that's going to go off to the hospital. So it talks about how we're still always connected to the people that we love. It's another one that is used a lot in bereavement as well. And When Dinosaurs Die is a really great guide to understanding death for young kids. So these are some of the books that I recommend that you can use. But if you need some other resources, then you can absolutely reach out. I'm going to leave my contact information on the slide here. So if there's any questions or concerns, or you want to know a little bit more about Nanny Angel Network, maybe you know someone who could be referred to our organization, or maybe you're someone that wants to give back to the community and volunteer with us, please reach out. We're really happy to be able to connect with you, to share a bit more, and to learn a bit more about you. So feel free to send me an email or give me a call. And really, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation today and allowing me to share a little bit more about our network and what we do to really lessen the impact of families in our communities.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much, Alyssa and Nanny Angel Network for sharing some of the incredible programs that you offer as part of your organization. I think this is something that's great that we're showcasing and highlighting it because more people should know about your organization. I think there was a question in the chat regarding the online information. I think Alyssa posted it in the presentation, but it is nannyangelnetwork.com, I believe is their website, so you can check that out. Okay, thank you again. And now moving on to our next presentation from Elia Farah. He's the program manager for Colorectal Cancer Canada, and he's going to share some of the amazing programs that they offer. So without further ado, Elia.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be virtually here at Alexa's Kitchen. I want to thank you all for joining us today. My name is Elia. I'm a program manager at Colorectal Cancer Canada. And Colorectal Cancer Canada is a non-for-profit organization. It's a patient-centered organization. We are dedicated, to raise awareness about colorectal cancer. We educate the population about colorectal cancer. We also support patients and their caregivers, and we also advocate on their behalf. I would say the overarching goal for our organization is to reduce the incidence and mortality of colorectal cancer, and of course improve the quality of life, whether that's for patients, for their caregivers, for their families, and we're sort of on every colorectal cancer front. And today, as you might have guessed, I'm going to be talking about colorectal cancer. So the presentation outline for today is going to be as following. So first, I'm going to be discussing, I'm going to be giving you an introduction about, colorectal cancer, what it is. And then we'll discuss after that some colorectal cancer statistics. And then the last part, we'll briefly talk about the Never Too Young program, which is one of our many programs at CCC. The Never Too Young program is mainly about, raising awareness about early age onset colorectal cancer, and that, colorectal cancer is not an old person disease. If you think that you have the symptoms for colorectal cancer, which we're going to be talking about in a second, go and get, screened. Detecting cancer early increases your risk of survival, and, allows for timely treatment to occur. And it's just so much better. Don't wait. So we're going to be talking more about the Never Too Young program later on in this presentation. So let's first start with the definition of colorectal cancer. So the term colorectal refers to both the colon and the rectum. And the colon and the rectum form part of the digestive tract, also called as the gastrointestinal or the GI tract. And colorectal cancer includes, two types of cancers. First is the cancer of the colon, and that's basically the large intestine or the bowel. And that's, of course, referred to as colon cancer. And then you have the cancer of the rectum, which is basically this area over here. Let me have my precursor. This is here, right here. This is the rectum. And this basically the end portion of the large intestine is referred to as rectal cancer. And both types of cancers, have many features in common. That's why they're collectively called as colorectal cancer. Now, the wall of colon and the rectum is made up of many layers, many cell layers. And colorectal cancer usually starts in the innermost layer. It's a layer that's called the mucosa. It's the deepest one. So if you have the colon like this, it's the one that's outlining the inner section. And what basically happens here is that, the cancer will eventually most likely start in the innermost layer and can grow outward through, some or all the layers to form polyps or budges or, these sacs that happen within or inside the GI tract. Now, when colorectal cancer is found early, it can be cured. We have, very good treatment plans and, procedures that can treat colorectal cancer and have a very high survival rate. So as you can see here, the overall 5-year survival rate, which is basically, it tells you the percentage of people who live, at least 5 years after the cancer is diagnosed. And then this percentage is about 94% for those who are diagnosed at stage 1. And then you can see it sort of drops as you go up the stages. Stage 4 is metastasis happen at stage 4. So the tumor or the cancer has, already spread to other organs in your body, such as the lymph node or liver. And it becomes really hard to treat it and control the cancer. It's possible, but the chances of survival, I would say, become dire at this stage. But it's not impossible. For the symptoms and the signs of colorectal cancer, there are a few of them. One of them is, persistent change in your bowel habits, and that's including diarrhea, constipation, or change in consistency of your stool. This is a really common one. Rectal bleeding or blood in your stool is also a very ubiquitous symptom to colorectal cancer or sign. Persistent abdominal discomfort, such as, cramps or gas or pain, weakness or fatigue, unexplained weight loss or anemia is another one. So you can tell most people with colon cancer experience no symptoms, at least in the early stages of the disease. So I think if you notice any persistent symptoms that worry you, just make an appointment, go check it out with your doctor. It's never too early and it's never too late. So I think it's really important to get checked often for colorectal cancer. Even though even if you're younger than 50, go get checked. And, as you can see, these are very general and common symptoms, which makes it even harder to diagnose CRC because it's often or usually misdiagnosed for something else. But moving on, health and risk factors. So more than 70% of CRC cases are considered to be random, sporadic, or non-hereditary. And at CCC, we believe that prevention is the best medicine. And, understanding the causal risk factors behind this disease is a requisite step towards, adopting a healthy lifestyle in the future. So essentially, you have, risk factors such as smoking is a solid one, alcohol consumption is another one here, diet and nutrition, body mass or weight, physical activity or rather physical inactivity, mutations, personal history, and of course, family history and genetics also attributes to high risks of colorectal cancer. Here, I'm just going to go over each risk factor very briefly. starting with the alcohol consumption, alcohol consumption has been, an established risk factors for several malignancies, not just colorectal cancer. It's known, to affect breast cancer, liver cancer, and so on. And the unique thing about alcohol consumption, it's considered to have a dose-dependent relationship or association with cancer. So, meaning that as the intensity of alcohol consumption increases, the risk of CRC proportionally increase with it. And based on peer-reviewed literature, it seems that moderate to heavy alcohol consumption can increase your risk of colorectal cancer by about 20 to 55%. And then you also have weight here. People who are obese are 30% more likely to develop colorectal cancer compared, to normal weight people. And then a recent study found that, men who are obese are 47% more likely to develop colorectal cancer compared to average body weight. Physical inactivity, has been associated with higher rates of colorectal cancer. It can also lead to weight gain, for example, which is another risk factor in this case. And physical activity has been shown to reduce risk of colorectal cancer by 34%. This area should be going down, because the stats here is that, if you increase more, you decrease colorectal cancer by 34%. Smoking is another solid risk association as a risk factor. Increases the risk of colorectal cancer by about 59%. And that's for current smokers. For former smokers, the risk of colorectal cancer increases by 19%. Race is another risk factor. Now, colorectal cancer is also, the leading cause of cancer-related death among Black communities. And that's in the US and Canada as well. And we know African Americans are 20% more likely to get colorectal cancer compared to other ethnic groups. So it's considered to be another risk factor. Diet is a really interesting one here. There are so many things to talk about for this risk factor, but and it's also pertinent to what Alexa's Kitchen is all about, promoting superfoods and healthy diets. But essentially, you've probably have heard this before, but synthetic, trans fat, these are also called dehydrogenated oil, which can be found, in variety of food products, and that's including baked goods, for example, so cakes, cookies, pies. You can also find them, in microwave popcorn, frozen pizza, refrigerated dough. So, biscuits, rolls, sugary carbs, fried foods as well. So fried chicken, fried fish, donuts, all the good stuff. And there's also recently been, some studies that looked at, sugary drinks and, increased risk of colorectal cancer, mainly early age onset colorectal cancer. And another one is red meat consumption and processed meat consumption. That's also been shown to increase the risk of colorectal cancer by 12 to 19%. And, these are very strong associations that we should definitely take into consideration and, think twice when you're eating junk food, as we say. Genetic risk is another risk factor to colorectal cancer or colorectal cancer. Genetic conditions such as Lynch syndrome or familial adenomatous polyposis, FAP, or the MUTYH associated polyposis, that's also called or referred to as MAP. These are all mutations or genetic factors that can increase a person's risk for colorectal cancer. And, most hereditary colorectal cancers are considered to be autosomal dominant disorders, which means that if you have one mutated gene, your chances of, transmitting or passing on that genes to your kids are, 50%. The chances of passing down that mutated gene. And you're obviously, if you have one gene, you're going to be affected. Your chances are going to be higher. Chances of acquiring colorectal cancer are going to be higher because it's considered to be a dominant disorder. This is more. It's a bit complex for perhaps for another time to discuss. Colorectal cancer statistics. So as you all know, colorectal cancer is the third most common diagnosed cancer in males and females, and it accounts for about 12% of all cancer cases here in Canada. And here on the right, you have the number of colorectal cancer cases on the y-axis, and on the x-axis you have the age specific groups. And then if you add all these numbers, you should have at the end approximately 27,000 individuals, and that's the number of people who got diagnosed with colorectal cancer here in Canada in 2019. These are, really, really large numbers. It's a big deal. We should be concerned about this. So moving on to colorectal cancer statistics. So I want to talk about two things here. But before that, I want to explain colorectal cancer incidence. So if you look at the crude colorectal cancer incidence, you'll see that it's decreasing over time, which is obviously a good thing. But, such trends could be misleading, because if you really look at the age-specific incidence, so if you look at the incidence of colorectal cancer in those who are older than 50, individuals older than 50, it's decreasing over time. But if you take that and switch it to age-specific groups, for those people who are younger than 50, which what we call early age onset colorectal cancer. So if you're diagnosed in your 30s, you're considered to have early age onset colorectal cancer. So if you look at the incidence of early age onset colorectal cancer, it's increasing. So again, colorectal cancer is increasing for those who are younger than 50, and it's decreasing for those who are older than 50. And this is depicted here in this graph. I'll show you zoomed in graph in a second, but it's decreasing over time, and that's for 50 and above, and it's increasing for those who are younger than 50. And we want to talk about the reason to why we see such trends. So why do we see a decrease in colorectal cancer incidence for those who are 50 and above? Well, mainly it's due to the provincial screening programs that we have here in Canada. I know the decrease in incidence is a proof that these, screening programs are working at detecting cancer or detecting precancerous polyps and lesions, which allows, for timely treatment to occur, and thus removing these polyps and thus preventing colorectal cancer from, happening. So if you remove these polyps, you sort of break down the cycle and you prevent that polyp from turning into a tumor. And thus, the incidence will decrease if no colorectal cancer develops. This is why we see a decrease in colorectal cancer incidence. Now, the increase that you see here in 1970, this was, due to the introduction of the Guaiac fecal occult blood test. It's basically a test to detect colorectal cancer, and it wasn't available in the past. It was developed in 1969, and it got scalable, in the early 1970s. So you see this surge in colorectal cancer incidence, and then you see the dip, which is very common in cancer epidemiology trends. As incidence increased, a lot of people here who were eligible to get screened for colorectal cancer got screened. So not many were eligible here, because most of the people who were eligible already got screened in this time frame or time period. And then you see this slight increase in colorectal cancer incidence, and that was because colonoscopies were introduced at the time to clinical guidelines, and in the early 2000s, provincial screening programs were introduced as well. Which again, helped detect precancerous lesions and polyps and prevented colorectal cancer incidence from, colorectal cancer cases from happening. And that's why you see this dip in colorectal cancer incidence for those who are 50 and above. For those who are in their in their early 30s or 40s, even 20s in some cases, you see an increase of colorectal cancer incidence. And this is early age onset colorectal cancer incidence. And the reason to why we see this increase mainly due to a strong birth cohort effect. And what a birth cohort effect, it's basically it's variations in something that you're measuring. It's, in this case, it's colorectal cancer incidence rate. So we see it's increasing, and that's the variation. And this variation is caused due to a unique exposure. Something happened that caused this variation to occur. And we don't know the exact reason, but the growth or the increase is hypothesized to be a product of environmental changes, such as sedentary lifestyle, greater obesity, processed food, alcohol consumption, diet changes in diet, even the microbiome. Stress is another possible factor. So these are all things that could have caused this increase to start happening in early and in young adults, causing an increase in early age onset colorectal cancer incidence. And one last thing that I want to touch on here is the latency period of cancer in general. It takes about 20-25 years on average for cancer to become symptomatic. So if you want to understand why you see this surge in colorectal cancer incidence, don't look at the 2000s or the early 2000s here. Look or investigate what happened 20-25 years prior. What sort of exposures were these birth cohorts exposed to? So you always have to keep that in mind, the latency period of cancer. But moving on, here I just wanted to show that this is not just a Canada phenomenon. It's happening in North America in general, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. So you see this increase in early age onset colorectal cancer here in New Zealand. And then you see this decrease in colorectal cancer incidence for those who are 50 and above. This is reciprocated elsewhere, not just in Canada. So let's talk about the Never Too Young program. So the Never Too Young program is a program to raise awareness and enhance patient support around early age onset colorectal cancer in Canada. And this is all an effort to decrease the number of young people diagnosed with advanced stage disease. We want to spread the message that, colorectal cancer is not an old person disease, although it happens more often in the older population. That doesn't mean that, it doesn't happen in young adults. And you saw the incidence of early age onset colorectal cancer is actually increasing. And that's why we started this program in 2018. We want to raise awareness about this. We want to sensitize the medical community that, early age onset colorectal cancer is on the rise, and we have to do something about it. So one of the things that we started for this program is the Never Too Young survey. And this survey was launched in late 2020 to sort of gain patient and caregiver perspectives, on their early diagnosis experience. And that's, from symptoms to diagnosis to outcomes and quality of life. And we touched on, many themes. This survey is a really comprehensive survey. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but you can find the report on our website. You can go on our website and check the full report. We asked them about lifestyle factors. So, the risk factors that we talked about earlier. We asked them if they, how many packs did they smoke, how often did they drink, and so on. So we asked them about diagnosis. How long did it take them to get diagnosed? What type of treatment they got, if they were introduced to clinical trials, what sort of symptoms they had, excuse me, if they got their biomarkers tested, if fertility was discussed prior to treatment. Sexual health is another important topic that's often, not talked about when receiving treatment or prior to receiving treatment. So we addressed multiple themes here. and I want to show you some of our results. Very briefly, we saw some shocking stats, and these stats sort of, caused us to introduce or start new programs and resources. It sort of spurred new ideas to support patients with their journeys, and we want to make sure that colorectal cancer patients are supported from block 1 to the end of their diagnosis, to the end of their treatment, post their treatment through our survivorship program I'll talk about in a second, and through the entire cancer care continuum. So in terms of pre-diagnosis awareness, we asked them, if they were aware that colorectal cancer can happen under the age of 50. 33% said no. They didn't know that colorectal cancer could happen in individuals younger than 50 years of age. And then 44% did not know the signs and the symptoms before their diagnosis. The majority, about 70%, did not discuss family history or CRC risk factors with anyone prior to diagnosis, which is also very concerning to us. And we talked about this. We know that early age onset colorectal cancer patients often take a longer time to get diagnosed, after seeking medical attention, and that's compared to the average age onset patients. And that's of course due to their young age. But this becomes clear here when you look at this stat. 78.1% of the respondents saw at least 2 doctors before they got diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And then more than 36.8% of the respondents stated that their diagnosis took more than 6 months. It took them more than 6 months to get diagnosed, which is very alarming to us, and sort of shows us that we need, something to help, change this and help sensitize the medical community about early age onset colorectal cancer, and not to dismiss a colorectal cancer diagnosis just because of someone's age. As a result of late diagnoses, unfortunately, the majority were diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. And for those whose cancers metastasized, the liver and the lymph nodes were the most common places of metastasis, which again, as a reminder, if you have metastatic cancers, or specifically colorectal cancer, it becomes harder to treat it and harder to control the spread of the cancer in your body, unfortunately. So what are we doing about this? We started a new program at CCC called the Family Practitioner Program. And this program aims, to sensitize the medical community about early age onset colorectal cancers, mainly the family practitioners, because they're the first contact with the patients. So we want to make sure that family practitioners are aware that colorectal cancer can happen in young adults. It's not an old person disease. We want to remove that idea that colorectal cancer can only happen in, old people, which is not the case. And we want to be able to help family practitioners diagnose early age onset colorectal cancer easier and, faster. So that's something that we're working on at CCC. Moving on to biomarkers testing. So biomarker testing is another, critical step in personalized medicine, where a patient's tumor is treated on its genetic makeup rather than the type of cancer more generally. So if you have a tumor that has specific biomarkers in it, and if these biomarkers have, associated specific or personalized treatments that are much better than chemotherapy, then this could be beneficial for you. But unfortunately, biomarker testing is not, the standard of cancer care here in Canada. And not a lot of cancer centers offer it to their patients, which is, reciprocated here. It's proven here in these stats. About 62.5% or 62.5% were not informed about biomarker testing from their healthcare team, which is very concerning, knowing how important and beneficial, personalized medicine could be for some cancer patients. So what are we doing about this at CCC? We started a program called the Get Personal program. And the mission of this campaign, of course, is to raise awareness and advocate for timely biomarker testing to ensure the most appropriate personalized treatment plan is developed. I have my wonderful colleague Maria is working on this at CCC, and we're doing great in that project as well. Oops. So in terms of survivorship and outcomes, specifically fertility and sexuality, so when asked about sexuality and fertility, the largest proportion, about 32.9%, responded that their healthcare providers did not discuss sexual side effects before the beginning of the treatment, which is very concerning. And despite the majority of the respondents, reporting a loss of sexual function to some degree, about 60% did not receive any guidance from their medical staff about them. This is indicated here in this bar plot. We know that, cancer treatments such as, radiation therapy to the pelvis can cause ovarian damage. Cancer treatment has its effect on, fertility and sexuality in men as well. So men can experience a reduced sperm count as a result of radiation. There could be, temporarily or permanently slowing or stopping sperm production, which is another big problem. So we wanted to do something about this. We saw that there wasn't enough resources and, family practitioners, the medical community wasn't, or the medical staff wasn't addressing such important topics with patients. So we wanted to do something about it. And we started this dating, sex, and reproduction toolkit. It provides information. This toolkit provides information and resources to patients and survivors, information that they need to maintain, healthy sexual life. Also touches on fertility preservation techniques and procedures, such as, cryopreservation for female, and then, sperm banking for males as well. It's a very comprehensive document. It's going to be available very soon. And it will be posted on our social media platforms as well as our website. Moving on very quickly because I'm running out of time here. In terms of survivorship and outcomes, so these were almost all the things that patients voiced in terms of difficulties and concerns. They sent very powerful messages. So here, having very few peers that can, relate to life-changing, to life-altering diagnosis. They were concerned about employment, fear of reoccurrence, financial health is another big one, psychosocial well-being. These are all concerns that patients voiced, patients and caregivers. So what are we doing about this at CCC? We started a program called the Cope, Thrive, and Survive, short for survivorship. And we promote health by supporting colorectal cancer patients and caregivers while getting their lives back on track. And, the program aims to provide resources, information, and advocate for patients and caregivers. We want to support the patients, treatment. Cancer doesn't end after treatment. And we need to make sure that survivors are supported during this journey. And this is what this program does. We support cancer survivors, colorectal cancer survivors, and their caregivers as well. In terms of employment, so the vast majority of our respondents, about 78.3%, were employed or in school at the time of diagnosis. However, nearly all of them, about 76.8%, had to take a leave or quit their job or school. And, this is very concerning because many early age onset colorectal cancer patients are at the peak of their career when diagnosed. So Therefore, professional interruption may take a significant and long-lasting toll on, the career goals or, financial stability. So we also wanted to do something about that. We can't just, see these stats and do nothing about it. So we started Return to Work series, and this is going to be available next week. We're waiting on the French translations now. But this toolkit highlights the problems encountered by workers affected by cancers, patients and caregivers as well, and their employers. So as an employer, what do you do if one of your employees breaks the news to you that they got diagnosed with some sort of type of cancer? You have to be able to accommodate them. You have to know how to react to certain situations. How do you make sure that you provide, you support your employee, you help them through their diagnosis, you accommodate them, you help them know their rights as an employee, as employees. So this type of information is all found in the Return to Work series. And it provides recommendations, guidance, and advice to help cancer patients and survivors plan their return to work or re-enter the job market. And moving on, discuss this very briefly. This is the Never Too Young toolkit that stemmed out of the Never Too Young survey. This is basically a document that highlights everything that patients, survivors, caregivers need to know about their cancer diagnosis, mainly talking about early age onset colorectal cancer. And this is the table of contents. So we talk about the risk factors that we talked about earlier in this presentation, diagnosis, family and relationships, relationships and fertility, treatment options, post-surgery, post-chemo, post-radiation therapy, everyday life, psychosocial well-being, and so on. This toolkit is available on our website if you want to check it out. It's up there. And then I just want to say, I want to end this presentation by saying we're here for you. If you need us to help you or walk you through anything, we are here. We have support groups. We have wonderful support specialists at Colorectal Cancer Canada that can help you, whether that's early age onset colorectal cancer or other or colorectal cancer in general. We offer support. We offer help. We also have our social media platforms. We have LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow us there. And of course, if you need anything, just go to colorectalcancercanada.com and then you can connect with us individually there. It was a pleasure talking to you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So I did type in the chat, I guess, for more information about some of the programs at Colorectal Cancer Canada, you can visit their website, which is colorectalcancercanada.com. And that does it for our first portion of Community Connections. Just want to thank everyone for presenting and for joining and watching us today. So thank you again to Lydia for that mindfulness body scan exercise. And then Alyssa from Nanny Angel Network, and then Alaya from Colorectal Cancer Canada. Again, if you did want to watch these videos again, or if you did want to find out more information about them, we'll be posting them on our YouTube channel later, probably tomorrow, so you can access them and watch them again. But that does it for the first live stream virtual Community Connections. We'll be doing this again next month, and it will be on Thursday, the 25th of November. So it is just for November's bumped a week. But you can join us for another great session. We'll be joined by another one of our amazing community partners, and we have some other activities planned as well. So thank you again. We'll see you then. Our cooking demonstration is going to start in a minute, so stay tuned, and I will see you again with someone else. Thanks again. See you soon.